What are you gonna do today, Ben?
Whatever I feel like I want to do. Gosh.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Ben Keeping Up.
My name is Ben.
And the question of the day, have you ever tried dieting before? Comment below. All right, guys, fun topic today.
Diets.
Here's why they don't matter. So let's define diet. A quick Google search says, restricting oneself to small amounts of special kinds of food in order to lose weight. So here's my hot take. Diets don't matter. Healthy eating does. Diet, healthy. See the difference? We need to focus less on what we lose when we diet or when we eat and think instead about what we gain. So what does healthy eating actually mean? How can we be health conscious with our consumption? While there are many data points and different studies or whatever that are out there, let's instead talk about what we should look for. So let's go over different types of studies. There are trial studies. This is basically an experimental study that reports findings on a small group. Then we have clinical studies. Clinical trials are basically the same thing, but they are monitored by medical professionals. Controlled clinical studies add another layer to that by having a group that is the control group, where they're not receiving the treatment while the other group does, to compare. And a randomized controlled clinical study is basically an all-in-one, where we have a randomized group and a control group, but nobody knows who is who. It's basically the gold standard of single studies. Then we have meta-analyses, which meta-analyses are used through the metaverse. Just kidding. Meta-analyses take multiple different studies. Meta-analyses are the true gold standard of research because it takes comparisons from similar studies and groups them together to be able to have a larger quantifiable understanding of whatever we're looking for. Now, I'm not a scientist, but I do have personal experience and can read through different studies. The important thing to take away here is understanding nuance and how to justify claims in the first place. If a claim has a stronger, more credible evidence behind it, it's in our best interest to take that side, regardless of where it comes from. So just an example, we're going to use this meta-analysis to justify a claim. This study shows that by reducing saturated fat intake, we can live without cardiovascular disease, or CVD, as stated here. What's cool is that this meta-analysis in particular looks at 16 different comparisons spanning over 59,000 participants. So it's a pretty large study. They found that while the data could not determine all-cause mortality, reducing saturated fat intake is still directly correlated to reducing risk of cardiovascular disease, which includes heart attacks and strokes. CVDs are the leading cause of death globally, and that swapping saturated fat for monounsaturated fat or polyunsaturated fat is a safer option in reducing your risk. So what does this mean exactly? What foods contain saturated fats? That would be animal meats like red meat, chicken, lamb. This could also be animal-derived milks and milk products such as cheese and ice cream. Cheese is actually 70% saturated fat. The process behind making cheese is also pretty intense too, but that's a topic for a later video. But then there's also some plants that contain saturated fat as well, such as coconut oil and palm oils. Now, what foods could we replace that with? That could be nuts and seeds, such as walnuts, almonds, chia seeds. These are also great sources as well because they are high in fiber. Then there's avocado, olives, olive oil. Fish also contain unsaturated fats, but also come with microplastics and heavy metals. And personally, I would not choose that in my diet.
Plant food diff.
So what can we take away from this? The best way to avoid cardiovascular diseases is really just to consume more plants, live longer, healthier, die young at an old age, reducing our risk of heart attacks and strokes, which I've heard are very painful. I can't imagine why. Another hot take is that consuming more amounts of fiber, which can only be found in plant foods anyways, can reduce blockages in the bloodstream as well, which further reduces our risk. When your body has less cholesterol buildup and saturated fat buildup, your heart can become more efficient. This lets you move faster, stay stronger, last longer.
Food for thought.
Either way, it's still important to know how to read a study and where the funding comes from or how they're sourced. Having a skeptical mindset is healthy, but it's also important to know where you can stake your claim as well. That's all for today. Thank you for tuning in. Leave a like. Feel free to check out some of my other content up here. Good journey, safe travels. Peace.